Hello, and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman.
And I'm Paris Schutz. Here's what we're looking at. A man is charged in the fatal shooting of a 9-year-old girl in Portage Park.
Why tens of thousands of Illinois residents are losing their Medicaid coverage and what they can do to keep it.
Well, it's a great story.
I put it out just like out the trunk.
And remembering DJ Casper, the local creator of the Cha-Cha Slide. And now to some of today's top stories. Prosecutors say a 9-year-old girl had just bought ice cream for herself and her father before being shot and killed this weekend. Sarabi Medina was fatally shot Saturday night in her Portage Park neighborhood. 43-year-old Michael Goodman is facing first-degree murder charges in her death and is being held without bail. The Chicago Sun-Times reports that witnesses say Goodman was upset over noise. Just after the shooting, he was tackled by the girl's father, and Goodman himself was shot in the struggle. For more on the story, please visit our website, WTTW.com/news.
Cook County prosecutors are dropping charges against a former Chicago police officer accused of battering a woman during a 2021 altercation at North Avenue Beach. Former officer Bruce Diker faced battery charges after video of this altercation from August 2021 went viral. In it, he allegedly harasses a woman named Nikita Brown who was walking her dog on the beach around midnight. Diker was warning Brown to leave the beach before it escalated because the beach was closed to the public at that hour. The Cook County State's attorney says in a statement that after consultation with the victim and her attorney, they will not be proceeding in criminal charges. The office did not give any other reasons, but a civil case is pending.
A jury has been chosen in the federal trial of Tim Mapes, who was the former chief of staff to Michael Madigan. Mapes faces charges that he lied to a federal jury that was investigating Madigan, part of the sweeping investigation into the former speaker's relationship with lobbyist Michael McLean, and charges they took bribes from ComEd for favorable legislation. The so-called ComEd 4 have already been convicted. Opening statements in Mapes' trial are set to begin tomorrow.
A native Chicagoan will lead next year's Democratic National Convention. The DNC announces Mignon Moore will serve as chair when the convention comes to the Windy City next year. Moore currently works as a political strategist with a D.C.-based firm. She previously worked in the Clinton White House and as CEO of the DNC.
The Illinois Secretary of State is asking residents to join the state's organ donation registry as he calls attention to the disproportionate number of Black and Latino residents who are waiting for a donor. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere shared his own story.
I am 81 days out from a double lung transplant. God is good. But somebody checked that box on their driver's license and allowed me to live. I'm here today because of someone else.
In Illinois, 36% of people awaiting a transplant are Black and 22% are Latino. Secretary of State's office says while transplants are not matched according to race or ethnicity, a more diverse pool of donors gives recipients a better chance at receiving a donation.
And coming up in the program, we remember two Chicago legends, musician DJ Casper and filmmaker William Friedkin. You're Friedman.
No relation. But first, thousands of Illinois residents are losing their Medicaid coverage. What they can do about it right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by Alexandra and John Nichols, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
More than 47,000 Illinois residents have lost their Medicaid coverage since August 1st. In the months ahead, hundreds of thousands more face losing their coverage too. That's because for the first time since the onset of the pandemic, Medicaid recipients are being asked to provide proof of their eligibility. The federal government had suspended that requirement in March 2020 as COVID cases mounted, but now the requirement is back. Joining us now are Israel Rocha, Chief Executive Officer at Cook County Health, Ben Winnick, Chief of Staff at the Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services, and Dr. Geraldine Luna, medical director at the Chicago Department of Health. Thanks to the three of you for joining us. Ben Winnick, let's start with you, please. 47,000 Illinoisans losing Medicaid coverage as of August 1st. Is that number higher or lower than what you were expecting?
Thanks, Brandis. I think that number is a little higher than we were hoping, but I would not necessarily say higher than we were expecting. This is a process that we have not been engaged in for 3 years. And the most important thing, I think, for all of us, and want to thank our partners, both with the Cook County Health and Hospital System, as well as the Chicago Department of Public Health, is to keep everyone enrolled who continues to be eligible for coverage. So while that 47,000 number is not necessarily what we're aiming for, it is important to note 13,000 of those individuals are people who are no longer eligible, and the remainder are folks we need to work on. And they have 90. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, and we'll definitely come to that 90-day window again in a minute. But if you would, Ben, put that 47,000 number into context for us. How many Illinoisans depend on Medicaid for coverage?
Yep. So we have currently enrolled about 3.9 million Illinois residents are enrolled in the Medicaid program. That compares to about 2.9 million prior to the pandemic. So we have seen significant growth. And then just in context for this month, there were about 200,000 individuals whose coverage was up for renewal in the month of August, and about 70% of those individuals are maintaining their coverage, and about 30% are either still being processed or have lost coverage.
Israel Rocha, give us a sense, if you would, of how this is impacting Cook County Health and how many of your patients depend on Medicaid.
Sure. So of our so far we've had a reduction of about 4,700. However, what we're happy about is that while the state overall saw between 69 and 70% reduction, we saw saw 69 to 70% stay on the roll. We saw 85 stay on percentage of the roll, and we do credit that to the wonderful coverage that's been going on here in Chicago to make sure that people know the facts, that they are updating their address on the websites with the state, and that we're making outreach and phone calls, because that's really what we can do as we're waiting for that information to come forward. Is everyone needs to go to the website, make sure they've updated their address, and if they have any questions, they can reach out to the state hotline, or they can call Cook County Health at 312-864-7333, and we're here to help you.
Cook County also operates county care, and so give us a sense of what the impact will be as people lose Medicaid coverage. Not only your ability at Cook County Health to provide care, but also to get reimbursed for care.
Sure. Well, we just proposed our budget, and we had to shift a significant amount of money from our Medicaid coverage into our uncompensated coverage allotment, and preparation for the fact that we anticipate that we'll see a reduction of coverage of individuals who are covered throughout the coming year. We really are working closely with the state and with our partners to try to make sure that if anyone loses coverage, we immediately requalify them. We have a team who can look at different options and how you can get enrollment, whether there's anything that you missed, that you may be able to maintain your enrollment coverage, and we're here to make sure that you can continue to get care. What I would say about Cook County Health and our health system is that whether you have insurance or not, we stand here to make sure that you get healthcare services. So please keep coming. We'll be here to help, whether it's to get you a plan, to get you enrolled, or to find out how we can get you back enrolled. We will make sure that your care does not get interrupted.
Dr. Luna, obviously thousands of Chicagoans as well depend on Medicaid. What are some of your concerns as we start to see so many people begin to lose that coverage?
Yeah, my concern has always been those communities who are frail by nature, with their high social vulnerability index, different concordancy in language, and competency and literacy. Like medical literacy is so important. So we're talking again about our Black community, our Latino community. We're talking about people that are incapacitated or has discapacity. So those individuals are, just to mention a few, of those communities that we know that are highly impacted, not only before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, as we are seeing right now, because they pose a threat, the highest threat of losing their insurances. And by just mentioning the region of Illinois, and most importantly in Chicago, that we're more concerned about is the south side of Chicago, that we have seen traditionally be the highest number of uninsured individuals. And now during this recertification process is that we see more and more of these communities like losing chances or looking or, just having problems to access care. And that's what we're doing. We're working with collaborators, we're working with stakeholders and trying to create this hyper-local approach that worked in the past during COVID, and we're giving it a try, amplifying the messages. We have our canvassers out there, promotores de salud, which is our community health workers, on that one-on-one basis, because this is more than just posing out there the information in a language that probably half of them are not going to understand, but it's more to approach, to create this trust that always works, and then have them engage, providing that information that requires trust again. And that is something that unfortunately we are seeing in our communities that we're lacking.
Ben Winnick, so as you said, of the 47,000 statewide, you said about 13,000 of those, it was because they were no longer eligible, which means the rest of them, it's a paperwork problem. If you've lost coverage, because you haven't done the paperwork and otherwise you were eligible, what are the options to try and renew?
So for anyone who believes that they are still eligible and has lost coverage, the most important thing that they can do is go to our website, abe.illinois.gov, click on Manage My Case, and get the paperwork completed online. That's going to be the easiest, simplest way to get your coverage renewed as quickly as possible. You can also call our hotline or return the paperwork. I do want to note that a number of the people that may not have returned their paperwork already have other coverage. We do know of the 34,000 whose cases were closed for not returning that paperwork. About 9,800 already have other insurance coverage. So we really want to focus our efforts on those individuals that may have just, paperwork got lost in the mail, but we think they're still eligible and in need of coverage, and making sure that they stay covered, because if we hear from them within the next 90 days, their coverage will go back to August 1st. So they will have no gap in coverage.
Dr. Luna, you just mentioned that you and other organizations are working to get the word out. Where can people go if they want to get more information about the renewal process?
Of course, it's easy. We have our call centers working now, dedicated personnel, speaking 102 languages right now. And Spanish is one of those important ones, because we know that a huge community of Latinos and Hispanics are within this community about to lose their Medicaid coverage. So they can call us at 211-211-Familia, por favor. Llamen para su recertificación de Medicaid. And they can also call us directly here at the Chicago Department of Public Health, 311. And most importantly, we're going to the community. So right now we're working with, yes.
We're almost out of time. I want to get Israel Rocha back in here one more time just to reassure folks, even if they do lose coverage, they can still receive care and treatment if they come to Cook County.
Correct. And what we want to make sure that everyone hears tonight is that if you lose your coverage, we have financial counselors here to help you through the process. You can also go to our webpage, cookcountyhealth.org, and go to redetermination, and we will be able to help you. But most importantly, if you're concerned, if you have any questions, you can just come on in and we're going to help you. Say that you lost your coverage. We have financial counselors here to help you. You can continue to receive care. Nothing changes for you. It's our job to find a way to make sure that you can get health coverage at Cook County Health.
Care and counseling on how to walk through that redetermination process.
Absolutely.
At Cook County. Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Dr. Geraldine Luna, Ben Winnick, and Israel Rocha, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have more information on resources and guidance that you can access to maintain Medicaid coverage on our website. Up next, remembering 2 Chicago area artists who died this week. Stay with us.
William Friedkin directed Oscar winner The French Connection and the iconic The Exorcist, among other acclaimed films. But he started in television working at WGN and right here at WTTW. He was born in Chicago and graduated from Senn High School in 1953. Friedkin died yesterday at 87. In 2013, he spoke with Phil Ponce here on Chicago Tonight about his career. Here, he talks about that famous chase scene from The French Connection.
I would never try anything like that today. And by the way, your viewers shouldn't try that at home either, you know.
Because well, tell the story of how you got those shots.
We went at 90 miles an hour for 26 blocks in Brooklyn under the elevated tracks and no sirens, no nothings. Just we blew through red lights. I had no permission to do it.
And you personally shot that?
I made the shot over the stunt driver's shoulder. The stunt driver did all of that driving, and we had my camera over his shoulder. There was a camera mounted to the front bumper on a wide-angle lens, and there was another one out the passenger window that was just stationary. But I made that shot, Phil, because the cameraman and the director of photography had families, and I was single. And we didn't know if we were going to walk away from that.
You said you had to goad the stunt driver. How did you goad him?
Well, before we made this one shot, from which most of those shots are taken, this 26 blocks, 90 miles an hour shot, we had a drink the night before, and he said to me, "So what do you think, boss?" He used to patronize me, and he'd call me boss, and I said, "You know what, Bill?" His name was Bill Hickman. I said, "I don't think what we have is good enough." And I said, "You haven't shown me anything. I've heard what a great stunt driver you are. You've shown me nothing." And he had a few drinks, and he said, "All right." He said, "Put that car out there tomorrow or the next day or whatever you can, and you get in that car with me, and I'll show you something." So we did. And he did, and he didn't let me down. And afterwards, I gave him a big hug, and thank God.
Let's back up to what you were doing in Chicago before you went to LA, because, I mean, you made this documentary that created quite a stir, and it sort of established your reputation and gave you street cred early on. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the subject of the documentary.
It was called The People versus Paul Crump, and he was an African American who was on death row for about 9 years when I met him. I met him quite by accident. I heard about his case at a cocktail party in the Gold Coast area. And I hate cocktail parties. I never go to them. I don't know why I went to that one.
Lois Weisberg invited you to
Exactly.
that cocktail party when she was still Lois Solomon.
That's
and
absolutely
longtime cultural commissioner, huge creative force here in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Sounds like you went to the party mainly as a favor to her.
Yeah, she kept saying, "Oh, come on to our house. We do these parties every Saturday night, and they're a cross-section of people. You'll find it interesting." And I was squeezed into a corner with this priest. He was a priest at the county jail on death row. And he started telling me about this guy who he thought was innocent. And it stayed with me all weekend, and I called over there on Monday. Father Robert Surfling was his name. He was a Protestant chaplain at the county jail. And I said, "You think I could meet that guy?" And he said, "Well, let me ask the warden." And I did, and I met with Paul Crump. I had no idea how to make a film, but I learned by making that one.
And to make a long story short, you make a film about this guy. He is on death row. He had a bunch of appeals that already failed and everything. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the governor winds up, having watched your film,
That's right.
The governor, Otto Kerner, I think,
Mm-hmm.
at the time, he gives him clemency. Commutes it to life in prison.
And later Crump got out.
And later Crump got out. Doesn't have a happy ending because he had a hard time struggling
on the outside.
But I mean,
Yeah, I think he was 40 years inside. He was the longest serving inmate for a long time.
And in the book you write that in retrospect, you wonder whether or not he was innocent as he asserted to you. And yet, this was a seminal movie for you because it gave you street cred when you went to LA.
That's true, and that's what got me to Los Angeles. The film started winning film festival awards, but more important, Phil, was shown to Governor Kerner, who sent me a letter that I still have saying that the film influenced his decision to pardon Crump because his parole board voted 2-1 to let Crump go to the chair. And I actually witnessed a guy die in the electric chair
You
at the
describe
county
it,
jail.
and it sounds horrific.
His cellmate. And there was a veteran reporter there with me, a guy named Ray Brennan, who used to write for the Chicago Sun-Times, and he actually threw up. And he had seen 3 or 4
All right,
executions.
well, let me stop you right there, because we've talked about an execution. We talked about smoke coming out from the person's legs you write about. Now you're writing about somebody throwing up. This gets us to The Exorcist.
I don't see the connection,
You don't
Phil.
see the connection? Okay. But it was a game changer for you.
The Exorcist?
The Exorcist.
Well, it's a great story, and it was based on a true story. It took place in 1949 in Silver Spring, Maryland, and it was a 14-year-old boy, not a 12-year-old girl. But obviously, it's a story of transcendence and the mystery of faith. That case, he retired about 6 years ago from NASA, and he moved back to Silver Spring, and he has no memory of what happened to him when he was 14. And he went through everything that's in that film.
Wow. Is it true you wanted Chicago DJ Ken Nordine as the voice of the demon? He's so well known to Chicagoans for word jazz.
Yeah.
Why didn't it work out with Ken Nordine?
Ken was a great experimenter in sound, and he's the first guy I thought about. So I let him do some experiments, but then I realized that it was a man's voice coming out of this little girl. And I thought, this isn't going to fly. No matter how dark and grovelly the voice was, it was a man's voice. And I thought, I don't want a man's voice to come out of this little girl. And then I started to think, well, if you don't want what do you want? And I remembered this great radio actress named Mercedes McCambridge. And I went to her and I recorded the demon voice with her.
Fascinating conversation. The late William Friedkin on Chicago Tonight 10 years ago. You can see the full conversation online at WTTW.com/news. Brandis.
Fascinating indeed, Paris. Sadly, another Chicagoan who made an indelible impact on culture has died. DJ Casper, born Willie Perry Jr., wrote and recorded the Cha-Cha Slide, a staple on dance floors at parties and other celebrations around the world. He's died of cancer. In 2018, we spoke with him about the enduring life of his iconic song.
Right foot now. Left foot now. Cha-cha now, y'all.
You definitely know the song.
Cha-cha again.
And maybe you know the dance.
You didn't know how to do the Cha-Cha Slide, you were square.
He has got one of the fabulous songs I've ever seen in my life when it comes to dancing.
We were at a party and the lady was 90, she turned 90 years old. But even still, you know what? She was out there trying to slide.
But you might not know DJ Casper, the Southsider who put the stomps, hops, and cha-chas together to create the Cha-Cha Slide.
I didn't really think the Cha-Cha Slide was going to do what it did.
What it did was break the Billboard Hot 100. In 2004, it hit #1 in the UK. And in 2018, the Cha-Cha Slide remains a musical staple for every kind of gathering.
Cha-cha now, y'all.
DJ Casper, also known as Mr. C, the Slide Man, began making music and DJing as a teenager. He says that he's always been a natural entertainer.
You're always thinking about, hey, what can I do to make this person have fun? Well, just so happened that the Cha-Cha Slide made everybody have fun.
And you can see that full story Friday night at 10 on Chicago Tonight, Black Voices, and on our website. DJ Casper was 58.
I think you said you just did the Cha-Cha
I did.
Slide.
My family and I did the Cha-Cha Slide a few weeks ago at a 90th birthday party.
Everybody does a Cha-Cha Slide at some point every day, and that is our show for this Tuesday night. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. The perjury trial of Michael Madigan's former chief of staff, Tim Mapes, is underway. Our Spotlight Politics team on that and more.
And what's behind the record number of opioid overdose deaths in Cook County? And well, if you haven't ever done the Cha-Cha Slide, now's your chance. Just follow along. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman.
And I'm Paris Schutz. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a great evening.
Clap your hands. All right, now, we're going to do the basic step. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha, real smooth. Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Right foot,
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm, and proud sponsor of programming that offers advice and strategies to enhance the physical and mental well-being of fellow legal practitioners in Illinois.